So my name is Meghan Speer, and I am by day the Vice President of Marketing Support Network, which is located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And this year, by night, I guess, I became an author of the book Letting Go of Should, which launched back in January. So very exciting season as all of this has started to kind of roll out and get going.
Very exciting and busy. I imagine you've been very busy.
Yes, much more maybe than I ever anticipated to be. But it's been super fun to do. I have had a blast with just this whole process. Um, Writing and editing and getting to understand the book world has been really, really interesting for me.
And definitely, I had listened to another episode or podcast that you had been interviewed on and learned that you didn't always plan to be a writer, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was not in the plan at all. It really, this whole book came out of kind of me journaling through some experiences that I was going through and just really
Yeah.
needing a way to like process all that was happening. And the more that I kept journaling, the more I was like, wait, I feel like there's actually something here that could maybe be helpful to other people too. So a good friend of mine and I kind of walked through that process together. She was super helpful in encouraging me to keep going and really get my story out there.
That's incredible because I am one of those people that has always wanted to write, but I didn't know what age group I wanted to write for. And that's not as important, but the people that like are shaped and formed into writing because of what life experiences have happened to them, I just really admire that. So, let's dive right in.
Okay.
What is the purpose and message of letting go of should, and why did you write this book?
So, letting go of should is basically my journey of coming to terms with what it looks like to let go of everyone else's expectations and what everyone else thinks you should do or should be. Because what I realized, I was going through this particular season in my life, early summer, late spring last year. And the realization that I came to is that the times in my life where I have been the most fulfilled, the most excited, even if they were busy and stressful, but like at the most just really exciting for me and the most growth, I feel like as a person, were when I was doing things I was gifted in, right? And when I'm doing things that I'm good at or called to do or whatever. And the times where I have had the most stress, the most frustration, the most burnout, some mental health struggles are all when I feel like I'm trying to do something because everyone else thinks I should, whether that's family or the world or work responsibilities or whatever it is. And so I finally came to that place last summer where I was like, this is ridiculous. And I keep doing the same stupid pattern over and over again. And I need to stop. And kind of my coming to terms with that journey. Like I said, the more that I talked to my friend about it, the more she was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not just you. I'm pretty sure a lot of us, especially as women, deal with all of these expectations and the weight that comes with all of those expectations. And it's not something that we talk about. I think there's a lot of things, that, especially as women, that we just kind of we deal with and we brush to the side. But this to me was one of those things that I really felt like, okay, let's put the story out there. If one person reads this book and thinks, you know what, me too. I am gonna chase after what I am good at. I'm gonna live into my strengths. I'm gonna whatever the case may be. Then I'm happy with that.
That's amazing. And I do not say that lightly just because I actually spoke with Terry Sifford earlier on this season. I think it's episode 33 about courage. So,
Okay.
living and finding our courage. And she and I identified that one of my biggest issues is that I'm a yes man or a yes woman
Mm-hmm.
and have a really hard time turning people down. I'm a major people pleaser, and I hate it because I love to serve people, but I don't like it when I get burnt out. And so, as you've identified this pattern of burning out and mental health issues when you're doing too much and you're fulfilling everyone else's expectations, it's really hard to stray away from that. I 100% hear you on that because I really do struggle with that too.
I'm curious, are you also an Enneagram 2?
I
'Cause
am. I'm a 2-3. Mhm.
yes, same, 2 of the 3 wing, and that's such a key piece for people in that personality type of like, no, I do love serving. I do love helping. But not to the point where it puts me in bed for a week because I'm so burnt out. There has to be a good balance. And so I think a lot of letting go of should was figuring out that balance point for me.
And that's really important for anybody to find a balance point. And I was reading your ebook. I haven't finished it, but I already love the premise just because um it's just so hard to live up to certain expectations, but there's also like the shouldn't or I should have or I shouldn't. And then there's the people I've seen this meme going around quite a bit that's like um teach your child to apologize for things that are wrong, but teach them not to apologize for everything because that's also been my personality. And
Yeah.
it's a major struggle because there are some things I apologize for that aren't even my fault and that I can't do anything about. But like I'm always just this subservient people pleaser. Yeah.
Yes.
And it comes at a cost, like you said. It really does.
And I really had come to that point based mostly on my career journey. I had gotten to the point where like where I feel like few people get, which is at 38 years old, I found myself at the top of the corporate ladder. It was literally basically handed a company. Uh, Here you go, run it. And who says no, right? Like, who says no to
Right.
this? It sounded like a really great challenge. It really felt like something like all the pieces were coming into place. And so, of course, you say yes. Uh, and the more that I was there, the more I found myself, and I think this is true in a lot of positions. Sometimes the higher you climb, the further away you get from the things that you're good at and from the things that fulfill you, right? Because you were a really great copywriter, they make you an editor or they make you a manager. Well, but you're really great as a writer too. And so you kind of miss those pieces. And so as a creative, as a marketing strategist, as all of those pieces, I started not being able to do that as much. And I was having to focus on things like budgets and spreadsheets and data and reports, and none of those are in my skill set. Like, none of them. I have deep respect for all the people who spend their day in Excel, but I am not that girl. And this is what I was doing, and it was making me miserable. And I was I was burned out. It was taking me double as long to do everything because I wasn't good at it. Um, and so I literally just had to come to the point where I said, you know what? Been up here, been to the top of the corporate ladder. I don't like it. May I please climb back down? Um, and that's where I found myself at the beginning of writing, was because it's not a thing most people do, right? And like you, I'm a reader. And so when I am struggling with something or when I'm going through something, I tend to look for books um, to learn from other people's experiences, especially memoir or leadership or those kind of pieces. And I tend to look for that. Um, and I couldn't find anything where people were like, yeah, I reached my goal. And then I turned and walked away from it because it's not what I thought that I wanted. And I think that that's the other message in letting go of shit is like, hey, it's okay. If the thing you thought you were supposed to want doesn't actually end up fulfilling you or it's burning you out, then it's okay to say, I'm out. I don't want to do that. And so, going back to your sentence on courage, that's a thing that takes some courage.
Major.
Uh, to,
Yeah, majorly.
to turn around and say, nope, yep, I realized that I announced, the first female CEO of the company. This, like, they're taking the reins here at 38. It's all exciting. Nope, sorry. I'm actually going to step back. And what I realized very quickly is that most people who step back out of leadership roles like that do so and leave the company, which retrospectively is probably really smart. It's really hard to stay and not be in charge of something that you used to be in
Right.
charge
Yeah,
of.
of course it would be.
Right. So that's where this whole thing came from, was like, I said yes to this giant thing. It totally burned me out. I hated it. I had to step away from it. And then it's my journey of figuring out what I did want and how I was going to move forward from all of that.
So what I really admire, yeah, like you said, of course, that takes major courage what you chose to do, because if you're offered something and you're able to do it, but you're miserable doing it, do you keep
Right.
doing that thing? I would say no. I'm all for following your passions and doing, what drives you. And it looks like different things for different people. At one season of my life, I was a teacher. Now I'm a mom, turning podcaster, author, children's lit. But I'm really thrilled to be speaking with you because I like learning more. I read plenty too. So I like learning about more books out there, especially ones that help with our mindset and how we can change it. So let's jump to that a little bit, because I
Yeah.
love that you mentioned the guilt cycle. There's a chapter
Oh,
about that associated with the I should or no I shouldn't. Would you mind discussing that and explaining that a little bit more?
yeah. So for me, that has always been a struggle, right? If I feel like I'm going to be disappointing somebody, that is to me worse than like pretty much anything other feeling. I would rather you be super angry and scream at me than tell me that you're disappointed. That like, oh, I can even feel it in my shoulder, like the tension in my shoulders now just thinking about it. Um, and so kind of that that process. And it was actually a couple years back, I was working with a therapist on some other pieces, and she said she was talking about every time that we say should, and every time that we put that on ourselves, if you trace the root words back, um, should actually basically almost becomes like a harness that they used to put onto oxen. It's like a similar. The root word is very similar, I think, in the Greek. Um, and so it's basically like you're putting this harness on yourself to live up to those expectations. And so she kind of made that mental image for me, um, uh, like to not be tethering myself to these things. And so for me, that guilt cycle of like, okay, no, it's okay. Sometimes, and I think Glennon Doyle talks about this in Untamed, where she talks about like when she's talking to her daughter and she says, you have a lifetime. I want you to have a lifetime of disappointing people because the one person that you should never disappoint is yourself. And I had this kind of aha moment, even reading her book, of like, oh, wait, yeah, I keep disappointing myself at the expense of everybody else. Um, because I'm trying to do all of that caring for everybody else and take care of everybody else. So, yeah, it has definitely been a process. I wish that I could say, I wrote Letting Go of Shed, the book is out, and now I have totally mastered this concept. But I think that that's something that's probably just like it's a lifelong thing. Um, I certainly don't have it down, but I am intentionally trying every day to make sure that I'm keeping myself and what I need for me at the forefront.
And that's huge because you need to stay sane. I mean, just to some self care. I'm very slowly cranking out a self help book for adults about finding happiness, finding joy, how
That's
we
awesome.
do that. And the chapter I'm working on right now is called A Little Self Love.
Oh,
And it's huge. I
yeah.
mean, what's so funny though with this guilt cycle, it's not funny. I shouldn't use that word, but it's ridiculous, maybe is better. I I guilt trip myself as a mom, like thinking I'm going to do a face mask tonight, or I'm going to do my nails during quiet time or nap time. And why on earth do
Yeah.
I think that that's like a guilty pleasure? Like that's really costing someone. But I have to reframe my thinking. That's crazy, because for me to be the best mom to my kids, I do need time to recharge, to read a book, to work on my writing, to do something spa, whatever, maybe exercise, whatever it will be. If I'm not doing that, if I'm not taking care of me, though, I cannot give of myself to others. That's just physically impossible.
Absolutely what I found to be true, especially for me as a leader, right? I mean, there are 40 some people who count on me ultimately as a leader,
Yeah.
still, even in the role that I'm in. Um, and so if I'm burnt out, I'm a crabby boss. I can see it because I start to micromanage and I nitpick, and it like that. Nobody wants a workplace like that. That's not fair, right? And we actually, I'll be honest, I ran into that 2 weeks, like in the last 2 weeks, where finally over the weekend, I just had to say enough was enough. I realized very quickly that I had been working too many hours. One of the things that for me is like is a giant stress relief is to go take a very long walk.
Mhm.
I live in Pittsburgh, in the north side of Pittsburgh, but in the downtown area. And so right along the river and beautiful river trails. And I love like it's that is my okay, take a minute. And
That's
I'll
the spot. Yeah.
yeah, I'll listen to a podcast or I'll listen to an audiobook or put some music on. But that's my time. And that 45 minutes, that hour, whatever it is, love it. And I need it. Like I need it. And I realized I only got it once last week. And by the time we got to the weekend, I could feel it. Like, okay, I did a bad job of balancing. And so this week I made like just today, I made sure like, okay, no, I'm leaving the office at a normal time. I'm going to go get my walk in because I am better for everybody else around me if I take care of me first. And one of my best and closest, dearest friends is consistently reminding me because I do a lot of travel for work. And all the time he says, remember when you get on those planes and they say you have to put your own oxygen mask on first before so that you can help everybody else? I'm like, yeah, 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 I hear you. He's like, no, really.
Mhm.
In life, you've got to put that oxygen mask on first. So it's kind of the visual reminder for me. But yeah, so and it that I think that time is different for everybody. It could be a face mask, it could be reading, it could be a walk, it could be whatever, some yoga, whatever your thing is that's going to renew you a little bit. I think it's critical to make time for. It's obviously shaped a lot of my life experiences, a lot of the decisions I've made. It certainly has had a huge impact on my career and the types of companies that I've been working for. Um, but I think part of and I think a lot of this had to do with the pandemic too, because I am single, I live by myself, and so but I'm also like a giant extrovert. And so a lot of these quarantine stay at home things were super hard.
Mhm. I hear you. Yep.
So as I was kind of processing all of that at the same time, um, I